What's good? Welcome back to the Work to Create podcast. I'm your host, Colton Bacher, and this is season 1, episode 12. This episode is a reflection. Almost exactly 1 year ago, I became a core member of a production company called Kursza. In short, Kursza is a production company and creative collective that partners with brands, agencies, musicians, and entertainers. Every year, the company hosts a retreat for its core members. It's a chance to build relationships, sharpen our skills, and figure out how we can better support one another. And I'm going to take you inside that experience and break down what I've learned and, more importantly, what you can take away from it. So by the end of this episode, you'll know what my 3 biggest takeaways were, personal stories to help paint a picture, and a 3-step guide for how to take action in your own journey. Let's get into it.
I done came up, went through the ups and downs, but I stayed tough. Never took a shortcut and never gave up. This time around, I'ma stay up.
Good morning, or I guess could be afternoon or evening for you guys, whenever you guys are listening to this. But just wanted to say I appreciate you tuning in. It's like a little bit over a week since the Kursza retreat. It's my first one. I don't know, lots of realizations, lots of moments of learning, and I'm excited to bring you into some of those moments. As I know a lot of you guys are solo creators, solo entrepreneurs, and stuff like that. And you might not have access to a group like this, but I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna push you in the direction that hopefully leads to you one day having a group like this. And in addition to that, not only am I gonna push you in that direction, but I'm gonna let you know a lot of things that you can do right now as a solo creative to be, continue on this journey. To making it a career or continuing to, further and grow your career. Okay, so why does any of this matter? This retreat reminded me of one thing above all else. Trying to do this creative career thing alone is a slow, lonely, and often soul-crushing route. Being around people who want to see you win changes a lot for an individual, especially if you've been doing it for years and years and years on end by yourself. That was me for a very long time. From 2019 all the way, to 2024. So it's 4 years of just figuring it out and not really having, too many people that I felt like I could lean on. In addition to having people around you, this speeds up your learning curve, because when someone makes a mistake and then shares that with the group, suddenly now you're not going to make that mistake, and you would have had to have gone through it yourself, but instead someone else did for you. Therefore, it speeds up the learning curve. Another important thing, your wins feel more rewarding when you accomplish a goal with a group. I know this might sound weird, but humans, we're social people. We're social animals, and the camaraderie around a group of people, with a single goal in mind, and then accomplishing that goal is an extremely rewarding feeling. And if you haven't experienced that yet, I promise you will. And then on top of it, being a part of a group or being around people, it gives you a deeper sense of purpose. When you're in a group, everyone has their strengths. Everyone has their certain quirks and characteristics that make them who they are. And they all have a different sense of purpose. They all have different things that drive them, different things that they're passionate about. When you're surrounded by a bunch of people with all those differences, it really helps you start to narrow down the things that you believe in, or the things that you hope to become, the things you hope to learn, and then ultimately, the impact you would want to leave on this world, or just the people that you want to get your art in front of. It can be as simple as that. This sense of purpose. And so you've probably been listening, and you're thinking like, okay, but just like I don't need a group necessarily. And you would be right. And like you don't necessarily need anyone really in your corner. But so this is something I want to make clear, and it's this: I'm not saying you can't build a thriving creative career all by yourself. That is entirely possible, and I would never tell you that you can't do that. But personally, I've always seen the most growth when I committed to being a part of a community. And I'll give you two examples. First example, super early on in my career, as you guys know, I love podcasts, right? And there was this podcast that I came across. It was called the Black with No Cream podcast, started by Ben Haggerty, who did a bunch of the first initial tours for Schoolboy Q, and then a few others in between. And now he's with Beyonce for like the last, I don't know, 3 years now or something like that. And so I dove headfirst into this podcast community. I did everything. I was in the Facebook group, talking to people, like learning, asking questions, DMing people on the side. And it was the first time, especially because at the time I was in school in Iowa, Dubuque, Iowa, at Loras College, and I didn't really feel like the community around me in Iowa was the one I wanted to be a part of. And it wasn't because I didn't like the people. It was more so that their interests were just not aligned with mine. You'll If you look up the Black with No Cream podcast, you'll find that Ben spoke a lot about things that interested him, and that was mostly touring and talking to other creatives who were in the music industry. That was highly attractive to me, and that's why I identified with the group so heavily. And not only did I learn like incredible amounts of information and gathered so much value from all the individuals that were part of this group, and like I think I've said it before, but I would never be where I am right now had I not dove headfirst into this podcast group and everything that it stood for. And then obviously the other example is me joining Kursza nearly a year ago. Like, and I'll touch more on this in a little bit here, but the biggest thing for me joining Kursza is like, and I've always known this, but I was never able to put it into practice until I was asked to join Kursza. But I've always been relatively good at what I do, right? I've always been pushing myself to do the best that I can and to learn as much as possible. And just naturally, that will put you ahead of a lot of people. So in a lot of circumstances, I found myself not necessarily being around other people that were at my level. And that's no shade on them. It was just like I was growing really fast, and it was hard to find someone in real life, IRL, that I could relate to, or even like just ask questions ask them questions and then like learn a bunch. Like there's little tips and tricks you can gather from anyone, but you really got to find people that are better than you in order to see like exponential growth. Kursza, prior to joining, I've been following the majority of the creators on that team for a very long time. And so I knew that they were some of the best, and a lot of them I looked up to and were inspired by. And to join that team was like a no-brainer because I want to be surrounded by those people so that I can learn from them. And like I do believe that they're better than me at a lot of things, and that makes me excited. And maybe some of you feel that you're a little bit intimidated by being around a group of people that are more talented than you. But I highly, highly recommend trying to shift that mindset to one of being like a sponge, one that just absorbs information, does a lot less talking, and instead just like sits in silence and observes and soaks up all the things that these people around you are doing. It's invaluable, and I've seen my career grow as a result of that. Okay. If you choose to ignore this advice, and it's completely up to you. I'm not forcing you to do this, but we've talked about in the past where the difference between, someone being good and someone being great is them taking action. So, take it for what it is. But if you ignore this, you risk your career stagnating. There's little, like I said, like earlier in my career, I felt stagnant because I had gotten to a certain place like in my career where, like, I've watched all the YouTube tutorials, there wasn't as much to learn, beyond just continuing to work on technical skills. And there's a lot more to this career. Hopefully you know that by now, is that there's so much more to this career than just your technical skills. You risk never becoming the artist, creative, or human you know deep down that you can be. I always talk about it, trying to be the best creative version of yourself. That's something you risk never quite discovering if you decide to kind of do this thing alone. I've seen really talented people burn out or even leave filmmaking entirely because they didn't have the support that they needed. So take this for what you will. But now let's talk about where we go wrong when we're trying to build solo. And this is not me calling you guys out, but it's more so just like you need to be aware of these things. And if you relate to any of these, then maybe that's like the little push that you need to start to create change. Okay, so these are some mistakes that I made. For a long time, I tried to do everything on my own. I would watch all the YouTube University. Geez, I cannot talk today. Building my network, get the gigs, trying to stay motivated, literally doing all of the things, sending emails, invoices, like just learning as you go. And that's pretty much all you can do, but there's a whole nother level to it. What most people would get wrong is thinking that independence means isolation, and that is not true. So at Kursza, for example, I'm empowered by their resources and their brand, not restricted. So I can do whatever I want, and they've voiced this, that they are willing to help in whatever capacity is necessary in order to help me move in that direction. I think that's all that you can ask of a group, especially a group of this level. That's all you can ask for, is just if you're willing to put in the effort and they can see that, they're willing to put in equal effort. And I think that's invaluable. As a solo creative, this is another like really important one that I've had to learn the hard way, and maybe you're feeling it right now. But as a solo creative, you'll lack motivation at certain times in your career. Motivation is not constant. And having a group will help you maintain direction and momentum despite your personal ups and downs. That's just facts. You can't always be motivated. It is humanly impossible. And so to have a group of people that are all experiencing their own ups and downs will hopefully allow you to tap into that energy when you're not feeling your best. And now a little personal anecdote here. So something that I struggle with personally is keeping myself accountable when it comes to editing and project deadlines, especially during moments of burnout. It can feel like an edit will literally be the death of me. So prior to being a part of Kursza, I would fall behind on multiple projects at once, and I didn't have any support system of any kind. It was just me. And so I had to scratch and claw my way back to the editing desk to get projects done, resulting in some very long nights and, also very little sleep. And that cycle is toxic. and we've all been there, but ideally we avoid it in any way that we can. This issue highlights two things related to doing this creative thing solo. One, I had too many projects going on at once because I wasn't being paid enough and had to make up for it. So I'm doing a ton of projects for very little pay, but because I'm doing a bunch, I'm able to stay afloat. Might be relatable. Number two, it's lonely and very difficult, if not impossible, to keep yourself accountable 24/7, 365. You will slip. You will fail. Now, don't get me wrong, going through all of that is very powerful, and you'll learn a lot about yourself and your systems, but that is not sustainable. That is not the way that you want to live your life for the entirety of your career. That I promise you do not. So having some sort of group to keep you accountable and to boost your morale and check in on you is invaluable. Okay. During the retreat, I was humbled over and over and over and over. Watching how successful creatives move and speak and operate in their daily lives is inspiring as fuck. So, what do we do with all this? I'm going to give you 3 key takeaways and how to apply them to your career right now. Here are my 3 core takeaways and how you can act on them today. All right, takeaway number 1, a group of like-minded people is one of the most powerful forces there is. Start building your circle today. So we can do that by reaching out to one person you admire. We can join a local creative group. For me, it was the Facebook group, the Black with No Cream Facebook group, which I believe is still active if you guys are trying to check it out. Even DM someone and ask them how they have continued to learn and grow in their own career. I think it's really powerful when each individual wants to see everyone else win. Growth becomes inevitable. You'll all level up in ways that were never possible as a solo creative. Seriously. Okay. Takeaway number 2, knowledge is power. I know, sounds vague, but don't be afraid to ask questions when the right person is in front of you. Oftentimes, I would hesitate or give in to the fear, but it's costing you progress. Early on in my career, I had to force myself to walk up to strangers and introduce myself. And I hated it. It was awful. And I know hate is a strong word, but I'm an introvert. I tell everyone, I can sit in a dark room for 8 hours straight and be the happiest human being by myself. That is the type of person that I am. But it was either walk up and talk to them despite feeling like I'm going to die, or spend a lifetime thinking about what could have been had I just said fuck it and walked up to them. And the thought of not doing that and not potentially making another connection that could put my career in a new place was terrifying. So terrifying that it was more scary than just walking up to them and saying hello and introducing myself. So take it for what you will. There's some things we can do though. There's some so I'm going to give you some action items here. You can make a list of people you know or admire. Come up with one well thought out question for each of them, and then go ask. Ideally in person, but if you can't, DM them. And, don't be annoying, but just DM them once, see if they respond. Or, if they make a post that is related to your question, then, drop it in the comments. And honestly, I need to take my own advice for this. I need to be doing this more. Just because I'm part of Kursza doesn't mean that I should stop making connections with people and just fully lean on Kursza. That is going a little bit too far the other way. Because yes, you're a part of a group, but you got to carry your own weight and you got to bring value to the table, You have to bring value to the group. And how do you do that? By having relationships with people, by having skills that other people in the group did not have, things like that. So I think I need to take this advice as well. Takeaway 3: there are levels to this. No matter how much you think you know, there's always more. I'm constantly baffled by the pure intelligence that creatives possess. We all have these very unique perspectives. The way you solve a problem will be completely different from how someone else solves the problem. I'm constantly fascinated by the way that other people's minds work when they're creatively trying to come up with solutions or ideas. It's extremely fascinating to me. It's why I have this podcast. It's why I love talking about this stuff. Often, if you pay attention, you can use other people's techniques or ways of thinking to improve on your own work. It's not necessarily stealing, but it's like finding that little idea, that little piece of their system that you feel like would fit really well into what you're already doing. So there's always another level. Always. I said it before, be a sponge. And then here's our little action item. Pick one process you think you've mastered, and then go find someone who does it better than you and study everything, their workflow, the aesthetic, everything about them. Go in, do a deep dive, download their video, go frame by frame, take notes on everything that stands out to you and why, and you'll learn so much literally on the first person that you do this with. I promise you, I've done this before. And it's kind of baffling how much, like, in the beginning of this, you're like, this is dumb. Like, why am I doing research on some random creative? But I'm telling you, within, like, the first, 10 minutes of sitting down and really dissecting their work, you're just like, holy shit. Like, I never thought of it this way. I don't even know how they did this, but, you can start to break it down once you're starting to pay attention to all the different things that they did. I don't know. That's what I would recommend if you're really, really trying to level up. And I'll give you a real life example here. At the retreat, one of the presentations that I found incredibly humbling was by James Winterhalter. James is a founder and one of the lead directors at Kursza. And his presentation was centered around decks. More specifically, how do you present an idea to a client who has a lot of money and get them to say yes? I had no idea that music video treatments and commercial decks could be this complex or thought out. And without going into too much depth, he was walking through even just like the way that he would word a sentence in order to convey a feeling in a way to be like as concise as possible, so that there's not a lot of filler words and the potential client gets bored or just thinks that he's being lazy. It was mind-boggling, the level of detail and thought and time that goes into a deck like this. It made me realize that this is a skill I desperately need to work on and hone, because if my dream is to be a full-time director, then a lot of time will be spent on explaining my ideas to others. And the best way to explain your idea in a way that helps people actually visualize what you're talking about is through a deck. So if I can't communicate my idea clearly, then I will lose out on that client or on that opportunity. It's as simple as that. But then again, who knew? Who knew, right? Like, had I not been able to make it to the retreat or something like that, I would not have been able to soak up that information and let that sit with me, and then come to the conclusion that this shit is very important. So you'll probably have a lot of those moments if you follow through on some of these action items, which I highly encourage you to do. All right, let's sum all of this up in one sentence. Real growth starts the moment you realize you can't do it alone. That's it. Which leads us to our hot take segment, and this will kind of tie everything together. And this is something I believe. The day you believe you know all that there is to know is the same day your career dies. This is an easy pitfall to find yourself in as a creative, no matter what level that you're at. But once you find yourself in rooms with people that are better than you at nearly every aspect of this business, you very quickly realize that there are levels to this shit. And I know it's a little bit repetitive, but I think rephrasing it in a little bit of a hot take like that puts it in perspective. That's my tough love right there for you guys. Is like, you want to grow, you want to be the best possible like creative, you want to be an elite creative, like known by your peers and by people in the industry. It takes an army to make this stuff happen. Okay, quick little recap, and then your next steps as you pursue this whole creative career thing. Surround yourself with the right people. Your value is equal to the people you surround yourself with. Ask questions. You can't score if you don't shoot. Never stop learning. The day, and I know I said it, but the day you believe you know all that there is to know is the same day your career dies. Okay, and then some action items. Reach out to someone new. Research something that you've always wanted to know more about. And then maybe sit back, reevaluate how you are learning right now. Check yourself and make sure you're staying open-minded to even the least likely sources of information. You never know. Every moment of your day has the potential to teach you something about how to be a better creative, about how to be a better person. It's gonna give you opportunities to soak up this information, and you just got to be paying attention. All right, let's wrap this up, shall we? Next week's episode is all about handling rejection. We just talked about how I'd learned that I need to get better at building decks, and what decks are for is for pitching creative clients or creative projects to clients, right? And a lot of times you'll put a ton of time and energy into creating a deck only for the client to say no. So we're going to talk about how to handle that, why it's important that you know how to handle that, and a lot more. This has been the Work to Create podcast. If you haven't yet, check out my newsletter, A Work in Progress. I take the most valuable information from each episode and convert it into an email that can be read and digested in under 2 minutes. Plus, you'll get access to free asset bundles and product updates before anyone else. The link is in the description and show notes. If you found what you heard today valuable, even just a little, please consider liking, subscribing, following, commenting, and even leaving a review on your podcast app of choice. It helps this podcast get discovered, and hopefully, as a result, we can help more people. Your support means the world. Work to create, work to inspire. And I'll see you next time.
I'm on a roll like a jalopy with the brakes cut. I done came up. Back then I had to stay up.